Story number 1. The locked room in my grandmother's house. I never really liked my grandmother's house. It stood alone at the end of a dirt road in rural Kentucky, surrounded by woods so dense that the sunlight never fully touched the ground. Every time I visited as a kid, the air inside felt heavy, as if the house itself was breathing in slow, tired sighs. But there was one thing I could never forget: the locked room at the end of the upstairs hallway. It had no doorknob, no keyhole, just an old wooden door nailed shut with rusted metal brackets. Every kid asks questions, but whenever I did, Grandma just said, "That room's not for you, Elijah. Stay away from it." And I did, for years. When Grandma died last winter, the family left it to me to take care of the property. I was the only one who lived close enough, and the others didn't want anything to do with that creepy old place. I drove up there one cold evening in January, snow slush covering the long, winding road. When I stepped out of my truck, the smell hit me, that old familiar scent of damp wood and dust. The porch creaked beneath my boots as if it remembered me. Inside, everything was just as she left it. The same faded floral wallpaper, the old grandfather clock still ticking, even though I didn't remember winding it. And then my eyes went up the stairs to that door. Still there, still sealed shut. I swear for a second I thought I heard something behind it. A dull, dragging sound, like someone shuffling their feet across the floor. That night I couldn't sleep. The house was silent, except for the occasional groan of wood and the distant ticking of that damn clock. Around 2:30 a.m. I heard it again, a slow creaking noise from upstairs. I froze. Every sound felt amplified. The wind scratching the windows, my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I grabbed the flashlight and went up the stairs, trying to convince myself it was just the house settling. But halfway up, I smelled something strange. Rotten, like wet dirt mixed with old meat. I shone the light toward the locked door. The smell was strongest there. I noticed something I hadn't before. The wooden brackets looked newer than the rest of the door, as if someone had replaced them not long ago. And then, just as I leaned closer, something knocked from the other side. Not loud, just one slow, deliberate tap. I backed up instantly, heart hammering in my chest, but I couldn't leave. The sound came again, softer this time. Then a whisper, a woman's voice, faint, muffled through the wood. "Elijah." I stumbled backward, dropped the flashlight, and bolted down the stairs. I didn't stop until I was outside, standing in the freezing air. I spent the rest of the night in my truck, eyes fixed on the upstairs window. I told myself I was tired, hearing things, that old houses make weird noises. But that voice, it had said my name. The next morning, I tried calling my mom. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Mom," I started. "Did Grandma ever say what's behind that locked door?" She went quiet, then sighed. "Elijah, just leave that room alone. She had her reasons." "What reasons?" I pressed. Another long pause. "Your grandfather built that room. Before he died, no one's gone in since. She said it was cursed." I laughed nervously. "Cursed? Come on, Mom. She's serious. Your grandfather changed after building it. He started talking to himself, staying awake all night. One night he went inside that room and never came out. The next morning, your grandma found him dead on the floor. My throat tightened. How did he die? She asked. Heart attack, she said quietly. At least, that's what she told the police. That night, I couldn't resist. I had to see what was inside. I found an old hammer in the shed and went upstairs. The smell was worse now, thick, clinging to the air like rot. I pried the nails loose one by one, the sound echoing through the empty house. When I pulled the last one out, the door creaked open by itself. The air that rushed out was ice cold. Inside, the room was small, bare walls, no windows, just a wooden rocking chair in the corner and a dark stain on the floor beneath it. My flashlight flickered. That's when I saw it, a pile of photographs scattered across the floor. I picked one up. It was me, as a kid standing in Grandma's yard. Then another, me and my mom on the porch. Every single photo in that pile was of me. And they weren't just old ones, too. There were recent ones, photos I'd never seen before. One of me sleeping in my apartment, another of me filling gas in my truck just last week. My heart sank. How the hell could she have those? And then from the corner of the room, I heard the creak of the rocking chair, moving slowly, back and forth, back and forth. I ran. I didn't even look back, just slammed the door shut and stumbled downstairs. I packed my bag and got in the truck. As I turned the ignition, I caught something in the rear-view mirror. The upstairs window, a silhouette, sitting in the rocking chair. I didn't go back for days, but the guilt kept eating at me. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe grief was messing with my head. So I returned one last time in daylight. When I stepped inside, the air was colder than before, silent. The house felt empty, but not in the peaceful way. I went back upstairs. The door to the room was open again. The rocking chair sat perfectly still, but the photographs were gone, all except one, lying in the middle of the floor. It was new, a picture of me standing right there at that exact moment, holding the flashlight. I dropped it and backed away slowly. Then I noticed something else on the wall, carved into the wood, deep and uneven. He's your father now. My stomach twisted. My hands shook so badly I could barely hold the light. And then I heard it again. The creak. The same slow rhythm. But this time, it wasn't the chair. It was footsteps. Behind me. I turned around and the flashlight flickered out. For a split second, in the darkness, I saw a shape. Tall, broad shoulders, face shrouded in black, eyes that glowed faintly red in the dark. I stumbled back, tripped over the floorboard, and fell down the stairs. When I came to, it was morning. The house was silent again. The door at the end of the hallway sealed shut once more, as if it had never been opened. I sold the property 2 weeks later, never told anyone what really happened. But sometimes, late at night, when I close my eyes, I hear it again, that soft, steady creaking of the rocking chair. And last week, a photograph showed up in my mailbox. No return address, no note, just a picture of me sleeping in bed and a shadow standing over me.
Story number 2. My father's midnight rituals. My father was a quiet man, not the gentle, comforting kind of quiet, the kind that made you feel uneasy, like he was listening for something you couldn't hear. When I was little, I used to think he just worked too hard. He spent his nights alone in the basement long after everyone went to bed. My mother used to say, "He's just working, Noah. Don't bother him." But I never knew what kind of work required candles, Latin whispering, and blood on the floor. The first time I saw it, I was 10. I'd woken up thirsty and crept downstairs for water. But before I reached the kitchen, I heard a sound coming from the basement, a low humming, deep and rhythmic, like a song without melody. Curiosity got the better of me. I opened the basement door a crack, and what I saw still plays in my head like a nightmare stuck on loop. My father sat in the middle of a circle drawn in chalk. Around him were black candles burning with blue flames, and in front of him, a small animal, maybe a rabbit or squirrel, its body motionless. He had a knife in one hand and was whispering something I couldn't understand. When he turned his head slightly, the candlelight hit his eyes. They looked wrong, glossy and distant, as if he wasn't fully there. Then he whispered, "I see you, Noah." I froze. He didn't even turn his head, just said it in that calm, empty tone, and I ran back to my room, crying silently until morning. After that, things started changing in our house. Mom began locking her door at night. She stopped sleeping beside him and moved into the guest room. When I asked why, she just said, "Your father's sick, honey. He's trying to get better." But it didn't look like sickness. It looked like obsession. He started writing in notebooks, hundreds of pages filled with circles, symbols, and drawings of eyes. Every room smelled like burnt wax and iron. One morning, I found one of his notebooks open on the table. The page showed a crude sketch of a man surrounded by shadows. Underneath it, in shaky handwriting, "The blood binds him. The sun completes him." That's when I started locking my door too. Years went by and I left home as soon as I turned 18. I didn't call much. He never reached out either. But 3 weeks ago, I got a call from the sheriff of my hometown. They'd found my father wandering the woods behind our old house, naked, covered in dirt and blood. He kept repeating my name over and over. When I arrived at the hospital, he looked smaller somehow, thinner, his face pale, eyes glossy. But when he saw me, a faint smile formed. "Noah," he whispered, "it's almost time." I tried to play along. "Time for what, Dad?" He leaned closer. His breath smelled of earth and decay. "You have to finish what I started. The bloodline." He began to laugh, a soft, cracked laugh that sent chills down my spine. Nurses rushed in and sedated him. The doctor said he was delusional, dementia maybe, but I knew better. 2 days later, he died in his sleep. I was the only one left to handle the funeral, the house, all of it. My mother had passed away years ago. Walking back into that old place felt like stepping into a coffin. Dust coated every surface. The air was thick and stale. And then I noticed it, a faint scratching sound coming from the basement. Of course, The basement. The door was locked with 2 heavy padlocks, both old and rusted, but one had been broken open recently. I stood there for a minute, just listening. The scratching continued, steady, deliberate. My pulse quickened. I told myself it was just rats, but something in me knew it wasn't. I went down. The air grew colder with every step. The smell hit next, a mix of rot and metal, like a long-forgotten grave. My flashlight flickered as I reached the bottom. The circle was still there on the floor, carved into the wood, but this time the chalk lines were filled with dried blood. In the center sat an old wooden box, nailed shut. The scratching was coming from inside it. I stared for what felt like an eternity, debating whether to open it. My mind screamed no, but my hands moved anyway. I pried the nails loose with a crowbar and lifted the lid. Inside was a small leather-bound book wrapped in cloth that looked soaked in old blood. And beneath it, a jar. Inside the jar floated something, pale, something shaped like a hand, a child's hand. I stumbled back, gagging. The jar slipped from my hand and shattered. The liquid splashed across the floor, releasing a smell so foul I nearly vomited. Then I heard it, a whisper, faint but close. "You broke the seal." The candles around the room, the ones I hadn't even noticed, suddenly flared to life. Their flames burned an unnatural deep red. The circle on the floor began to pulse like a heartbeat. I ran for the stairs, but the basement door slammed shut above me. And then I heard my father's voice. Not from the stairs, not from the room, but inside my head. "Noah, don't run. Finish it. You have to finish it." The floorboards began to creak. I turned, and something was crawling out of the circle. It wasn't my father, not anymore. It was taller, its limbs stretched unnaturally long, skin pale and wet. Its face was twisted, but I could still see pieces of him in it, his eyes, his smile. It spoke again, mouth moving wrong. "You have my blood. You're part of me." I grabbed a loose pipe from the floor and swung it. It went straight through the thing like it was made of smoke. Then it screamed. The sound wasn't human, high-pitched and low at all once, vibrating through my bones. My vision blurred. The candles exploded in bursts of red light, and then everything went black. When I woke up, it was morning. The basement door stood open. The floor was clean. No blood, no candles, no box. For a moment, I thought maybe I'd imagined it all. But when I looked down, my arms were covered in scratches, my clothes stained with something dark. I ran outside, gasping for air. The police arrived after I called, but they found nothing, just an empty basement. They called it a breakdown, stress, hallucination. But that night, when I got back to the motel, I found something waiting for me. The leather book, lying on the bed, its cover still damp. I tried to throw it away into the river, the trash, even burned it, but it always came back, always dry, always intact. And every night since, I hear him whisper, not in dreams, in my waking hours. He tells me things, ancient words, names that twist my tongue when I try to say them. He tells me that the bloodline must continue, that I have to call him back. 3 nights ago, I lost control. I woke up in my car parked outside my father's grave. The book was open on my lap. My hands were covered in blood, and in the dirt beside the headstone was a half-dug hole. I didn't remember digging. I didn't remember anything. But I know what I saw when I came to. The coffin was open, and it was empty. Now I hear footsteps in my house every night, heavy, slow, pacing outside my bedroom door. Sometimes I see the shadow beneath it, long, thin, stretching across the floor. Last night, the door handle turned. A whisper followed. "Almost time, Noah." I've been sitting here writing this since dawn, waiting for the sun to rise. But it hasn't. The sky outside looks frozen, dark red bleeding through the clouds. And just now, I heard a knock. 3 slow knocks, coming from the basement door of my new house. The one I swore never had a basement.
Story number 3. The Family Heirloom. When my mother died, the only thing she left me was a small velvet box. No money, no property, just that box. Inside was a necklace, a thin gold chain holding a ruby pendant shaped like a teardrop. It shimmered darkly in the light, almost like blood trapped in glass. There was a note tucked beneath it, written in her shaky handwriting. "It's yours now, Claire. Don't wear it. Ever." That was all. I remember sitting at her funeral, staring at that box in my lap, wondering what kind of mother leaves her daughter something she can't use. I hadn't spoken to her in years. We were never close after my dad died. She became distant, paranoid. Sometimes she'd call late night just to say, "Don't let it touch you." Then she'd hang up before I could ask what she meant. I thought she'd lost her mind, but I was wrong. 2 weeks later, I moved into her old house to sort through her things. It was small, creaky, and smelled like mothballs and old paper. The necklace stayed in my bag, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. It felt alive. Every time I looked at it, I swore the ruby pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. That night, I had the first dream. I was standing in front of a mirror, wearing the necklace. My reflection smiled back at me, but it wasn't my smile. The eyes were darker, colder. Then my reflection whispered, "Finally." I woke up, gasping. The box was on my nightstand, open. The necklace wasn't inside. I found it on the floor the next morning, lying at the foot of the bed. I told myself it must have fallen out somehow. I locked it in a drawer, but that night, it was around my neck again. I didn't remember putting it on. I didn't even own a key to that drawer anymore. I'd snapped it off the night before. After that, things started to happen. The lights flickered whenever I walked past a mirror. My reflection would lag a second behind me, or sometimes blink when I didn't. And the ruby, it got darker every day. I tried throwing it out once, drove 20 miles out of town, and tossed it into the river. But when I came home, it was waiting for me on the kitchen table, dry as if it had never touched water. That's when I started digging through my mother's old journals. In one entry, dated 1984, she wrote, "It's passed from mother to daughter, every generation. It chooses one. You can't destroy it. You can only delay it." Then another, written a year later, "Your grandmother wore it for 40 years. When she tried to take it off, it burned her. She said she could hear voices inside it. They told her things. They promised her life, and they took it." By the third night, I stopped sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, my mother, standing at the foot of my bed. Her face pale and hollow, her lips moving soundlessly. One night, I finally heard her. "Give it back." Her voice echoed inside my head, soft and broken. "Give it back before it takes you too." I sat up, trembling. "Mom, what do you mean? What is it?" She just pointed to the necklace on my chest. When I looked down, the ruby was glowing, faint but real. And when I touched it, I felt something pulse beneath my skin, like a heartbeat, but not mine. The next morning, I called my aunt, the only other family I had left. When I told her about the necklace, she went silent, then said, "Claire, listen to me. That thing killed your grandmother. It drove your mother insane. You have to bury it." "I tried," I cried. "It won't stay gone." She hesitated, then whispered, "Then it's already chosen you." That night, I decided to destroy it. I set it on the kitchen counter, grabbed a hammer, and brought it down as hard as I could. The impact shattered the marble underneath, but not the ruby. It didn't even crack. Instead, it laughed. A faint, high-pitched sound that echoed through the kitchen like a whisper in glass. Then the lights went out. I turned on my phone flashlight, and there she was, my mother, standing behind me. Her reflection filled the window's glass, but her mouth was open unnaturally wide, eyes completely black. Her voice wasn't hers anymore. It's hungry. The ruby flared with light, crimson and blinding. I felt it burn into my chest, and when I looked down, it had fused to my skin. I screamed and clawed at it, but the more I pulled, the deeper it sank. Blood ran down my collarbone. The air around me grew thick, and then I heard whispers, hundreds of them, all speaking at once. They were inside me. When I woke up, I was lying on the kitchen floor. The necklace was gone. The house was quiet, but my reflection in the oven door smiled on its own. It's been 3 days. I haven't left the house. I barely eat or sleep. I can feel it under my skin, like veins made of fire. Sometimes I catch glimpses in the mirror, not of me, but of her, my mother, my grandmother, their faces layered over mine, shifting like shadows. And the whispers are louder now. They tell me to go outside, to find someone, to pass it on. Last night, I felt something strange, almost peaceful almost. For the first time in weeks, the whispers stopped. The air felt warm. I walked to the mirror and saw myself, truly myself. No shadows, no red glow. I smiled, but then my reflection didn't. She tilted her head, eyes going black. "You can't fight blood, Claire." I stepped back. "No, you are the heirloom now." The ruby reappeared, hanging from my reflection's neck, burning like a living ember. I screamed and threw my phone at the mirror, shattering it into 1,000 shards. But each shard still showed the same thing. My reflection smiling back, whispering my name. Now I know what my mother meant. You don't wear the heirloom, it wears you. And soon, when it's done with me, it'll find the next daughter. Or maybe it already has. Because just now, I got a message on my phone from a number I don't recognize. It's a picture of a little girl wearing my necklace.